Texas Congressman Brian Babin does not think the U.S. should be welcoming Syrian refugees due to those concerns. He joins us now along with his son Leif, who is the author of the terrific New York Times bestseller, Extreme Ownership, How the U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win, and a friend of ours here at Fox. Thanks both to you for being here. First to you, Congressman.
Yes, sir.
I think if you look at the polling on this subject, most Americans are open-hearted, decent people who welcome foreigners in trouble, but I don't think many at all support the idea of moving people from the Syrian battlefield to this country, because, like, why would we? Can we stop this?
We're certainly trying. You know, I've been trying to do this since I dropped a bill back in July called the Resettlement, Accountability, and National Security Act, which would suspend this program. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it through this latest bill, this omnibus bill, but I'm not giving up. This is an overwhelmingly important aspect and issue today, and the American people are with us. And they don't want jihad. They don't want open doors and an opportunity for and ISIS to come in and set up bases of operation legally and at taxpayer expense right here in America, and have a repeat of San Bernardino and Paris and some of the other attacks that we've seen. And so we are going to continue this fight, and we will keep going with every fiber in our body to continue to try this.
Leif, does it bother you, as someone who served his country in uniform with a gun in hand and risked his life doing it, to hear Hillary Clinton describe anyone with your father's point of view as a bigot?
It certainly does, and it's incredibly naive and just foolish to think that the terrorists aren't going to be exploiting this program. And I applaud my dad and his courage to stand up and lead this fight to put a stop to this ridiculous program that's endangering America.
But the demagoguery makes it almost impossible to be honest about it. I mean, there's nothing bigoted about saying what your dad just said, what you just said, what I think the overwhelming majority of Americans think, which we want to help. But this is really dangerous, and we're talking about the survival of our country. You're a bigot for saying that now?
Well, what's messed up about this, the most difficult thing is that Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, is to blame. President Obama is to blame for this problem, and we could have easily solved this problem a year ago if we had leadership that allowed the U.S. military to destroy ISIS where they are in Iraq and Syria, and we wouldn't have this refugee problem.
One of my ongoing frustrations, Congressman, with Washington is nobody learns from anything. And you'll notice that every week there's a story about Minneapolis as this hotbed of homegrown terrorism. Why Minneapolis? Because there are a lot of angry Swedes? No, because we resettled a ton of Somali refugees there. A lot of them are great people. Some of them aren't. And so is anybody in Washington thinking through what we can do with future waves of refugees to make certain they don't wind up like the ones in Minneapolis?
Yes, there is. Brian Babin. I was a voice in the wilderness for months. Then after the attack in Paris and San Bernardino, all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. But political correctness is getting people killed. And we have got to stop the politically correct way of thinking inside the Beltway up here in Washington. And instead of plussing up our refugee program, which this omnibus spending package does by $100 million, we need to cut this thing out. We need to suspend it. And we need to stop worrying about shutting the government down. Who's going to be blamed for that? Because overwhelmingly, Americans want to stop this refugee program. They know it's dangerous. We've seen the results of it. And we don't want a repeat of it. Look at Western Europe, where we have no-go zones. We've got to stop this.
Well, of course. Leif, have you noticed that the people in favor of this, almost all of them have 24-hour armed bodyguards paid for at public expense, which is to say they will never personally have to deal with the consequences of the programs they support?
It's very true. And those same people want to take the guns away from law-abiding American citizens.
The ones with their own bodyguards who are armed.
Exactly, which is despicable. And, you know, what bothers me most about this is that we've got some extraordinary U.S. troops that are serving overseas doing their best to try to take on this threat and eliminate the problem and not just the symptom. We got to take the reins off them, allow them to do their jobs, and go take the fight to ISIS and destroy them there.
Boy, if I'm in the U.S. military and I'm sleeping outside with a gun in my hand in the Middle East, I'm really hoping that the people giving the orders know what they're doing, are sincere, responsible, knowledgeable, have America's interest at heart. How worried would you be if you were still over there with the leadership we have now?
Well, it's incredibly frustrating. It's frustrating, but our troops understand that this is an enemy This radical Islamic jihadi enemy that we face is as an evil an enemy as the U.S. military has ever faced in our long history, and we've got to do something about it there. So no matter who's in charge, they're going to do what they can to make it happen.
Boy, that is such a great attitude. And finally, Congressman, you made, I think, a series of common sense points. You're clearly not crazy or wild. I mean, you seem like someone who wants to protect the country. You should want. How many of your fellow Republicans would you say in the House agree with you?
Well, I had 75 of my colleagues to sign on to my bill. We need far more than that, of course.
Where are the rest of them? Why in the world wouldn't they support this? Do you have any idea?
You know, I don't know what it's going to take for folks to wake up. I mean, as Leif just said, what is it going to take for the president to wake up? You know, the danger is real. It is a national crisis right now. Our FBI director, as you just played a while ago, Jay Johnson, Secretary of Homeland Security, we're being warned, and these guys work for the president. Yeah. And we've just got to understand that the American people are afraid, they're apprehensive, they're out arming themselves because they know that things can happen real fast right here in our own country, and they will and have. And I will say this, we saw the bad thing that happened to San Bernardino, but when the jihadis attacked in Texas, we had some armed people there, and it didn't turn out so well for them. So if the authorities can't be there, then we have to be vigilant, and instead of disarming us, this administration needs to be certain that our Second Amendment rights are happening and that we're armed ourselves.
I think we're all going to be living in Texas by the end. Congressman, thanks a lot for joining us. Leif, it's great to see you.
Thanks for
Father and son, you guys should have a special. Appreciate it.
Thank you.